The three biggest mistakes letting agents make with compliance. Today I'm joined by Des Taylor, who's the boss man of Landlord Licensing and Defence. Des, what are the three biggest mistakes letting agents make when it comes to compliance? Talk to me.
Is self-incriminating by answering questions from those investigating them for offences under the Housing Act or any other.
How do they do that?
So the agent receives a call from the local housing authority and they say, I'd like to talk to you about such and such an address or such and such a tenant, and they enter into a conversation and they start answering questions without having been cautioned and without having a representative in place to answer the questions for them and clarify what's being asked. Our advice is very, very simple. If somebody rang up and said they were calling from your bank and I'd just like to ask you about the 5 transactions that you just did, would you enter into that conversation with them, even if the number looked the same? Probably not. What you would do is you'd say, we get a lot of calls like this from people claiming to be other people. If you are who you are, say you are, please drop us an email or send it to us in writing, and then it will be addressed by the appropriate person. In the meantime, I have to secure the identity of the people in our organisation, the identity of our clients, and I have to comply with GDPR. You will understand. Thank you very much, and terminate the call.
What's the second biggest mistake?
The second biggest mistake that is being made is not inspecting regularly enough.
What's regular?
Regular should now be every 3 months.
Really?
Yes. Many licenses, selective licenses, will say every 6 months. But in 6 months, an awful lot can happen. Just consider what's happened in the last 6 months in our economy, with our parliament, etc. People could move in and move out. And we see cases where people allow people to move in for 2 and 3 months in a period. They're in the property and they're basically essentially overcrowding, or they're causing an issue in the property because somebody else doesn't want them there, or there's an issue because they're breaching the conditions of HMO. So you've got to be really, really careful. And what people aren't seeing, and really importantly over the winter months, is they're not seeing the lack of ventilation, the build-up of mold, etc. And we're seeing a massive increase in people claiming for disrepair, etc., where it's deemed generally most of the time that the tenants are at fault.
Because they're not opening the windows up.
Yeah.
So you said in a previous video that they should be taking photographs every time.
Yeah.
And using some form of inventory software on the phone to dictate as you go round.
Yes, absolutely. And the only way you're going to defend yourself is by having that written report. So if you had a conversation with the tenant, the moment you've had that conversation, make the notes. You said, he said, they said, etc. If you want to record somebody, you generally should ask them, is it okay to record them? But what a lot of people are doing today is they're wearing a body cam. I'm just going in, so I'm going to do an inventory, and they're doing a body cam. And having used a body cam recently with the inspection with the local housing authority, I found the quality very good. The conversation is all there. You can transcribe that conversation and use that conversation in evidence. And I would advise, get your inventory clerks and your inspection clerks to wear a body cam. Let them know as you're walking in. Have a policy so that all tenants signed up to that policy. If you're entering the house and they haven't signed a policy, take the policy with you. Get them to sign and accept that you're coming into the property and that you're videoing, and that those will be used for the inventory, and get all of that information. One of the things I would say about video, which is very important, is judges don't generally want to sit and watch through your videos. So get photos as well, or take the frames, because it's easier for them to go through bundles of PDFs and see frames of photos rather than it is to watch a video. So it's very important to get that information.
Interesting. What's the third biggest mistake agents make?
The third biggest mistake is not charging enough commission. Everybody knows that we've got to pay for the staff that do the work, and everybody knows that it's impossible to do things cheaply. So why do we sell and compete on percentages that are lower than we should charge? When I see cases that come to us and the landlord's in trouble and the letting agent's in trouble and the tenant's causing problems, and I'm like, why is there an issue here? When I ask the question, what percentage, and they say 6 or 7%, that's most of the problem. They can't deliver, so they don't deliver. So you need to charge the right amount. And we did an exercise about 3 years ago with an agent in Norfolk, and we looked at what they were doing, and we said, in order to compete with the rent to renters and their promise of rent guarantee, they could do that, but they would need to charge 35% in order to give the same guarantees for themselves. Well, if that's what it costs, 35%, then maybe there's something wrong in what's being asked and promised. You're over-promising something that you're never going to deliver anyway. But I think that you're going to see 18 and 20% as a pretty good standard going forward to be able to deliver with all the extra regulation and legislation. And if you're not prepared to offer that premium service and fully managed services, you're going to stay in business. It's going to be impossible.
Thank you for your insight today, Des.